Hello and welcome to a special interview with my friend Laxman Sivaramakrishnan. No one better to decode what's going wrong with Ravi Bishnoi, or rather, what went wrong in that match in Manchester. Three no balls. Again, that back foot bowling at about 103, 104 pretty regularly. Things did not go right for the young leg spinner. And Shiva also put out a post on X asking him to kind of, if I understood that tweet correct, slower and also about turning the ball. First things first, Shiva, welcome and thank you very much for your time. Three no balls in a 20 over game from a spinner.
Well, huge problem, isn't it, Boria? First of all, thank you for having me on your show. I think Ravi Bishnoi is not a conventional leg spinner to begin with, but the coach's job, he's gone through the NCAS Center of Excellence. Whoever was watching him there, and now you have a spin bowling coach in Sairaj Bautule. One of the first things a coach should look at a bowler is his alignment, where his back foot is landing, where his front foot is landing. Once you see that alignment, if it's okay, then you carry on with what happens later. But once you see the alignment and you know he's touching the return crease, then you're forcing him to go closer to the stump. And as a coach, what I do is put a few cones on the return crease. When you put the cone on the return crease, every time he stamps the cone, he knows it's a no ball. So one of the things that you've really got to do is make sure that your spinners are bowling legal deliveries. There's no point in bowling illegal deliveries in terms of front foot overstepping or back foot cutting the return crease. And no matter how good the ball is, it's not going to fetch you a wicket. First of all, you need to bowl a legal delivery under the situation to avoid the free hit and bowl a good ball. So the first job, like I mentioned, when you look at the alignment, you'll find out the back foot's going wrong and correct him straight away. Probably get him to run straight and much straighter than what he is doing at the moment. Those things were not checked earlier for Ravi Bishnoi in his coaching stints, probably at NCA and the Cricket of Excellence. But one thing Sairaj should have noticed immediately is the alignment and the back foot landing.
See, that was actually my next question, Shiva. I mean, basically, if you and I have seen Ravi Bishnoi from his under 19 days, even in the IPL, when he was bowling in the IPL, I didn't see him come like this, like almost a snake. Ravi Shastri actually made a comment about that in his commentary, that this was a kind of an action which I had not seen, and it kind of surprised me, and that. According to me, was kind of pushing the back foot on that line. So going forward, young person, how quickly can this be rectified? Next game is in Nottingham, day after tomorrow, and the following game just has a day in between in Bristol. So clearly, two games in 3 4 days. Maybe one, two net sessions maximum. Can this be rectified in 1 or 2 sessions?
Well, the boy is at an age where he should be able to rectify, but a lot of things I've coached a few people. I don't want to mention the names, but they say we are not comfortable. It's not the question of the bowler being comfortable, it's the question of the batsman being uncomfortable. So if you've got to make adjustments, you've got to make those very quickly. And modern day cricket is all about adaptability. If you're good in adapting your run up very quickly, put those cones in the run up that you want, maybe straight. He's going zigzag all over the place. And he is not a conventional leg spinner. Even when you look at his hand, it's past perpendicular, which means he's not going to be able to turn the ball. But the first thing you do is put a lot of cones in a straight line from the return crease to his run up and make sure he runs straight and gets closer to the stumps. Even if he gets into the middle of the box, he's going to be in an okay situation. The back foot should land probably parallel to the crease and closer to the middle, closer to the stumps at the bowler's end. Maybe even in the middle of the box is fine. Once your back foot lands in the middle of the box, your front foot is going to be landing in line with off stump. That means your alignment is fine and your bowling hand will come in a proper direction. So I think a leg spinner can be coached only by a leg spinner. They have Sairaj Bautule. And one thing in cricket, leg spin is the only thing that goes anti-clockwise. And I see in IPL, a lot of bowling coaches are overseas fast bowling coaches. In T20s, over number 7 to 15 is very important. If you make early deads, they pick up a couple of wickets in the power play. 7 to 15, you have to make sure that there are no partnerships. 7 to 15, when the spinners bowl those 8 overs, they've got to make sure even if they go at 8 and over or 9 and over, even 9 and over is 180. If everybody goes for 9 and over, it's 180. Even if they go for 9 and over, in the 4 overs that they bowl, they should be able to get 2 wickets each, which means you've got 4 wickets in those 8 overs. And even if you got a 9 and over, you're making sure wickets fall at regular intervals, which
Mhm.
means there is no partnership building in the middle overs. If there are no partnership building in the middle overs and wicket falling at regular intervals, you will have the lower order batters or maybe even the bowlers batting the last 5 overs. So I think the spin bowlers have got to be aggressive.
Shiva, the question I also wanted to ask. I mean, firstly, as I asked, can he rectify? The other point about Ravi Bishnoi, before I ask you a couple more questions on spin, is one. In that match in Manchester, both teams played three spinners. One can argue that okay, did India play one spinner too many? That is a different argument. England also had three spinners playing. But if you see the pace, Akshar Patel was bowling slower. Will Jacks bowled slower. Uh, you know, Unfortunately for India, Ravi Bishnoi was bowling at a pace of 103, 104, 100 and that kind of pace. For a spinner to bowl 102, 103, 104, what should be an ideal pace? And again, the same question, what can be done so that he kind of gets better in the next two games?
Well, modern day spinners think what the batter is going to do instead of thinking what he needs to do. The action begins when the bowler starts his run up and then releases the ball. The batter is only going to react to the bowler's effort, what he is bowling. So they've got to think for themselves and they've got to be positive. I saw him bowling at 103. Sheer panic. What does a fast bowler do when he gets hit? He bowls slower through the air. He bowls the slower deliveries, the cutters, maybe the slower Yorkers. You see, Bumrah, he's got a variety of slow deliveries and variations to bowl when he gets hit. I mean, which is very, very rare. But the fast bowlers generally look to bowl slower. However, the spinners, when they get hit, they panic, definitely panic and bowl quicker and quicker, which means there's no chance for the ball to deviate off the pitch. People say, a lot of commentators go on and say the pitch will spin. The pitch will never spin. The bowler's got to spin the ball. That's why he's called a spinner. The pitch might be conducive to turn. The deviation of the pitch is called turn. And the spin is what happens with the tweak of the fingers of the bowler and revs of the ball in the air is spin. Only if you spin the ball, there will be a little bit of turn or a lot of turn depending on what the surface has to offer. So it's not the pitch that spins for you. And when I mentioned about the revs, you've got to give the ball enough time in the air for the ball to have those revs. If you bowl quicker through the air, then you're not giving the ball enough time for the ball to rotate, spin in the air, and turn off the pitch. The quicker you bowl, the straighter it's going to come, the easier it's going to be for the batters to hit through the line. Ideal speed would be slow through the air. I think Amit Mishra is a perfect example of what he did in IPL. Even in his last year, when he bowled about 78, 79, around 80, where the ball was not coming onto the bat, which means the batter has to generate the power and the pace, and he has to compensate for the lack of pace provided by the spinner. Spinners, I don't know for what reason they're being encouraged to bowl flat and fast. Flat is the height of the trajectory. Flight is the height of the trajectory. If you flight the ball more, you must spin the ball more and have a good finish for the ball to be dipping on the batter. They are reluctant to flight the ball in the air. The four great spinners that I interacted with prior to what I was playing, Venkat, Bedi, Prasanna, and Chandra. Chandra was a quicker bowler through the air, but he was quite deceptive. He could learn his leg breaks and the googlies. But the other three spinners, Prasanna, Venkat, and Vishen, said if the pitch was too good, then the good spinner, quality spinner, has two options. If you can't get anything out of the pitch, you've got to deceive the batsman in the air, which is you're talking about the variation of pace, even at a lower trajectory. And modern day spinners understand flat as fast. There's difference between flat and fast. Flat is the trajectory. It's a lower trajectory, and you can bowl at different speeds, which I think Daniel Vettori was very, very good at. Because he was a tall man, he couldn't flight the ball because the ball has too much time in the air. But you maintain the same trajectory, lower trajectory, and vary your pace, you're going to be able to allow the ball to spin in the air and turn off the pitch. Even if it's marginal turn, it's fine. A leg spinner needs to have a good top spinner, especially in the white ball cricket, because the top spinner will have that extra bit of bounce. Always remember, when the ball hits the top of the bat, then the bowler is on top. When the ball hits the middle of the batter is on top.
Hmm, nice. In the case of Ravi Bishnoi specifically, I mean, if you made this point about panic and bowling fast, and my mind went back to his first year in the IPL when he was playing for that Lucknow team, and I remember Rahul Tewatia from Gujarat Titans was batting, and exactly the same problem happened. The match went away from Lucknow Super Giants. Bishnoi started firing in the balls under pressure, and the pressure was released, and Gujarat took the match away. So this has not been a one day issue. It has been there with him for the last 4 or 5 years. And again, from his under 19 days to now, I have rarely seen him really spin the ball. So is that something to worry about at all, Shiva? Or, okay, we will take it as it is. Ravi Bishnoi, these are his strengths. We will work on him and he will still be a good quality spinner. What's your take on that?
Well, with his arm being past perpendicular, when I may say past perpendicular, it's here for a leg spinner, but his hand is here, past perpendicular. When you bowl from this angle, you slide the ball into the right hander. That's why in his initial days, people were playing for the leg breaks and the ball coming into the bat, they were foxed by it. Over a period of time, with technical analysis, you can make out straight away anybody goes past perpendicular leg spinner is not going to be a big turn of the ball. The ball's going to angle in, or his googlies will be effective, which is what happened in his first season. But he's not going to be a big turn of the ball because he won't be able to make the adjustment of getting his arm in the right position and the wrist in his right position. Because you've got to remodel and redo his action altogether. I would probably put, when I talk to kids, if I'm coaching young kids, I can categorize spin bowling into three departments compared to a meal. You talk to a kid, you talk to them about a meal. Your starter is your run up. You've got to have a little bit of a start as a run up to gain some momentum. But the main course, the main meal is in the delivery stride. You see these spinners, how quickly they rush through their delivery stride and how fast they run in. They don't give themselves enough time at the delivery stride to be able to get the balance and be in a good position to be able to deliver the ball and give it a real tweak as they release it. So I think modern day coaching with all the overseas fast bowlers being coaches for most of the IPL teams and going to various test playing nations, you've got to have a legitimately good spinner who understands the value of the technicalities and the biomechanics of spin bowling to be able to guide him.
Final point, final couple of questions rather. One, I'm taking from your tweak. Uh, is there a, is does Ravi Bishnoi work to his strengths, or if you were his coach today, what would your advice be? Try and change your action. Is that possible? Try and change something so that these no balls are avoidable, but the majority of it remains the same because your, as you said, past perpendicular, your spin will not happen, and you focus on the incoming ball or the ball that comes in and the googly. What will be your advice to the young man? Because clearly he must be hurting after those three no balls pretty badly.
Well, if he does play the next game, I would tell Sairaj Boutley to put cones from the return crease till the beginning of his run up, straighten his run up, make sure he doesn't go zigzag, straighten his run up, and his back leg in the middle of the box. It's going to be quite very, very difficult to get closer to the stumps with this bowling action because his back leg lands near the return crease and his front foot goes a long way across, which means his alignment is not okay. But for the moment, what you can do is make him run a lot straighter and not go to the left hand side, drift away to the left hand side where the return crease is. So you can put a row of cones and make him run a lot straighter. That's the only thing you can do, because unless you bowl a legal delivery, you're not going to be able to get a wicket. If you keep bowling no balls, you're not only bowling an extra delivery, you're also conceding a free hit where the batter can't be out and conceding extra runs.
Fascinating. Last question. Now that you've kind of been hit for these sixes by Jacob Bethel, multiple no balls, it's also about mental scarring, right? I mean, that, okay, I'm responsible for the team's defeat because the match was in control. The captain alluded to it in the post match press conference. Uh, how tough is it with this bowling action change that you're talking about, possibly with cones or whatever? How tough is it going to be for the young man, Shiva? Can that be done? I mean, from the standpoint of someone who's been there now doing coaching, how difficult is it going to be for someone like Ravi Bishnoi?
See, whatever you do, good or bad, becomes a habit over a period of time. And this has become a habit, and nobody has corrected Ravi Bishnoi. It's going to be virtually impossible for him to change in a couple of days. So I would suggest that he be rested. And if they can have another bowling option, they can try that particular bowler. But if he wants to correct his action, it will take a while. You've got to unlearn all the mistakes and learn the correct things over again. And consistency in action will bring about consistency in bowling as far as the line and length is concerned. That's why a good action, a repeatable action, is very much required for any bowler, be it a fast bowler or a spinner. So Ravi Bishnoi, to have a repeatable action, will first have to unlearn all the mistakes and learn the correct thing. I would advise him to shorten his run up and approach straighter and gradually increase his run up that he normally wants, to be able to have that balance and a good position in his delivery stride. Balanced position will help him. Unless you control your body, you can't control the ball. So a bowler's got to take his time in the delivery stride, control his body, and make sure your non-bowling arm is used to good effect, and then you release the ball. A lot of work has got to be done with that boy, but it will take some time. It can't happen overnight.
Last 20 minutes has been an absolutely magical spin bowling masterclass from Laxman Sivaramakrishnan. I mean, I learned a lot of things. I'm sure anyone listening to this interview would learn a lot of things. And if Ravi Bishnoi does listen to it, I think he will learn a thing or two for sure. Anyone, any kid who wants to do spin bowling,
Boria, sorry,
yes.
Boria, they can always come to Chennai or call me wherever they are. I can go personally there and coach them and come back. Because my passion after commentary is about coaching. When I was there in the Indian team, there was no coach, no technical analysis, nothing, no technology, nothing. And I've learned everything about spin bowling in my 23 years of commentary because of observation. There are a lot of talks with Bharat Arun, and generally going about the system in a particular manner, talk to each and every spinner. And what I learned most was one particular series when we did commentary, India Australia series, when Shane Warne had come down, and they had talks, numerous talks about his bowling and the general leg spin bowling. He was a magician. I'm not going to share too many things about what Shane Warne said to me, but I will share it with people that come to me to be coached. Because now Sairaj Bhautale is the coach of the Indian team. There are coaches at the Center of Excellence. They have their own way of coaching. But theory is not everything. It's got to be practical and theory to a certain extent. And every boy cannot be coached the same. Each boy is different. He's got a natural talent, natural ability. You've got to harness it in the best possible manner. But I'm shocked that not looking at the alignment and hence the back leg cutting the return crease is not a surprise. It's a huge shock that nobody has looked at earlier.
I leave it at that. Some tough words, some instructive words, and some constructive words as well from Lakshman Sivaramakrishnan. I hope anyone listening to this interview takes a lot of it and gets better. That's the whole endeavor. Ultimately, people need to get better at what they do. Shiva, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you joining me at short notice. Thank you very much and stay well. And I hope your coaching passion continues, in the manner that it is, and you do some great work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boria.
Thank you.